so far. But if I have uploaded any more class materials, they'll be inside our LearnChill or Teams as well. But yeah, so with the lab, I know we had issues with the logo. So one thing you can do with the logo, if you're still having issues with that, is you can take a screenshot of the PDF logo and use that one. As I mentioned, though, you also can use any logo as well. I don't really care necessarily that it's the Pixel River logo. It's more just to kind of practice pulling a logo into the app and displaying it that way. So one thing I kind of wanted to mention as well with that, because I kind of covered this, but briefly last class, is to display a logo on a page. You gotta do something like this. So I'm just gonna pull up so here's my header file for the refactored lab. So I have the header here, it's returning a component, same headers that you guys would have on yours, but mine's returning an image. And the way you do the image is you import it from where the path is. So in my case, mine's in assets under icon. And then from there, you can import the icon just as a named item here, and then pass it directly to the source like that. And that will work for importing any sort of like image asset. One thing you can do as well is, let's say I want to import a style sheet to this, I could add a header dots. Okay, sorry, I'm teaching a class. But you can add a header.css file here, and then from there, I can actually import that directly into my component just like this. So if I just do import and then /header CSS, and that's all you need to do for importing CSS in this React. So that will import my CSS and apply it to this class as well as the other classes, or I guess the component. But yeah, are there any questions about that? Or does that all make sense? All right. So with that, one thing I also mentioned as well is for the JSON file, when you do the refactor, you'll probably want to actually make it a JSON file. So I know I mentioned I had mine as a JS file, but for the refactor, it's probably better to have a JSON file imported into your app. And if you want to see what the app actually would look like after it's fully completed, I'll show you my version of it running. So here's my version of the app. Obviously, mine looks very basic and plain. Feel free to add as much styling as you want to it, but at a minimum, it should look like this with the styling. I got the footer. I have all of the individual items here for each of the people that are loaded in, and this is loaded from the JSON file. So if I were to change Zoe Robbins, for example, to make it their name Zoe Bobbins, if I go back and refresh, now it says Zoe Bobbins, right? So all your data for this should be imported from that JSON file and displayed directly from that. So if any changes happen to the JSON, it should be reflected onto the components. But yeah, and so one thing you can do that will make the refactoring a bit easy, and I kind of added these steps here, is you want to kind of, we talked about this last class when you were kind of creating that initial Vite app and showing how that all worked, but you can use this command to create the Vite app, and this will give you some options you can select from. So you can select React and TypeScript, and I'll actually do this along with you guys right now just to show you how this would work, just to make it kind of clear on how you can do the refactor, because it's a little tricky if you haven't created a Vite app before and you're not sure how this works. So I'll kind of just walk through that. So just give me a sec to get to my correct spot. Okay, so I'm going to copy this command, npm create Vite at latest, paste that into my console. Now when I run that, it's going to give me a couple options. The first option, you're going to want to choose React. Some people accidentally chose vanilla, but you want to choose React as the option here. And you'll see in a second once it loads. Taking a second. I guess we'll give it a couple more seconds. There we go. So now it gives you an option for the project name. In my case, I'm just going to call mine Demo1 Lab or whatever, just to kind of show that. And now it gives you a couple framework options. We want to select React for ours because we're using React. And then from there, you want to select TypeScript as your variant. And then from there, it's going to give you a couple commands you can run next. So you run cd change into that directory. I'm just going to open in Visual Studio. That way I can see all the code as well. So make sure you go to the directory it's loaded in after it's created. So mine is Demo1 Lab. And when I go into here, you'll see I have a bunch of files now. So this is the basic Vite app it creates as the default. So now what you can do is you can create a components folder here. And then you can add all your components individually as their own folders. So you'll have a header folder for your header stuff. You'll have a footer folder. You'll have a section folder for your main content and your playlist. And those will all be their own individual components inside this app. And you'll notice that the app TSX is going to have a bunch of boilerplate code in it. This is all built-in Vite stuff. You can just get rid of all this. This is all just stuff that's here just as a default when you create a Vite app. And you'll also see I'm getting all these red lines. So in my console, when I ran this app for the first time when I was creating it, you can see here it gave me npm install. So I need to run npm install in order to get all these assets to load correctly. So I'm going to do that real quick. The nice thing about using the Vite app create command is it creates all of the Git stuff and initializes it too. So now I have an empty Git repository here, which is already initialized with initial commit, and my node modules are already get ignored. So you don't have to worry about adding your node modules to your git ignore. They're automatically added to it from here. So once I run npm I get my node modules, and the app's going to be initialized, and then I have an empty app here. So what you'll probably want to do is you'll want to add all of your references to your components in the app here. So I'll just kind of show you what I did for my lab. I'm not going to show you the actual code for the components, but I'll show you how I'm referencing them in my TSX. So your lab should look something like this. You should have a nav, a header, an employee list, and your footer. And these are all in their individual component folders. And these all do the individual things that the HTML one would have been doing, but now in their own individual components. So like as I kind of showed before, the header one is just returning the header and with the image icon on it, right? Does that all make sense so far? Anyone have any questions about this or want me to explain something? Give a thumbs up, I guess, if it makes sense.